Good evening, everyone. The topic which we chose for our project is the most familiar topic to everyone in our class. Our topic is redundancy. It is a variation of a buffer flow and a defense mechanism developed in order to be prone to shell injections. A common way to exploit a buffer overflow vulnerability is to overflow the buffer with a malicious shellcode, which causes the vulnerable program to jump into the shellcode that is stored in the stack. Slide contents. Slide 2. These are the topics we are going to discuss. Further moving into our PPT, I'll be covering the overview of the buffer overflow attack. Slide 3. So when we come to the project overview, these points from slide 3 gives you the gist of this attack written to libc. Simply put, you just have to return the address to the library C. Basically, libc is a C library where all the functions which are used by the programs are stored offline. These are called library functions. Here in this attack, the return address going to be modified to a point where the standard library function. The assumption here is you gotta figure out the address of a library function, and once you have that, that is what the OS is going to override. So when you do the stack buffer overflow, you gotta make sure the library function address is what gets written into the written address field on the stack frame. Non-executable code, which we see here, it can be defined as any malicious code, even which are inputting in the person stack, will not get executed even in the situation. We can still do the attack that can be done with the written to libc. So the question here is, how can we achieve exploitation even when the code is non-executable? Can we do anything with the memory? Maybe yes. Standard functions which are already existing in the memory are very easily exploitable and are very vulnerable. One such example is system function, which can execute anything possibly by passing /bin/sh your shell command to system, and it will execute the shell. This is the whole concept of our exploitation. We can pass it to the /bin/sh value to be executed in the system function. Then you don't have to explicitly put both the values in the stack and execute it when it's already present in the memory. You have to do things. Invoke the system function, make sure the argument applied to the function are already present in the system, and ensure how we pass this argument as a function. And we need these addresses: the base address, the current address of your module that you are working on, the system address where the function is located, the exit address. Basically, it is important as the /bin/sh keeps running till the program crashes, so we need exit address. Argument address /bin/sh, the argument, the command. Slide 4. Okay, when we come to the environmental setup, just the same process as we did for this assignment 3. For the software dependencies, we need to install Ubuntu 16.04 VM, very Werewolf OS. The hardware dependencies for the system we use are the Windows 8 and above, RAM up to 8 GB, CPU x86 processor, SSD if needed. Library which we used in this project are the standard C library functions, string copy, printf, and scanf. The slide 5, here in the buffer overflow vulnerability, in every networking there is a standard buffer overflow size. Our target is to overfill the stack. Once we overfill the stack, the buffer starts giving out the address when more values are added to it, so we can easily steal the cookies or the values from the overflow. So in below figure, the original buffer flow size is 8 bytes stored for the password, and by adding the other two values, there's overflow of 2 bytes, and stack spews out the values when this happens. And stack based and the heap based. These are the two important types of the buffer overflow. Stack overflow are basically they corrupt the memory on the stack, and this means values of the local variables and function arguments and written address are affected. Whereas the heap overflow refers to the overflow that corrupt memory located on the heap. When coming to the languages which are susceptible, C and C++ are highly vulnerable. Perl, Java, C# should be using the built-in mechanisms, and that's why we use Python in our project. So slide 6. In the last slide, buffer overflow attack. The figure here depicts the function stack argument on the top, EBP, and written address, some kind of a hex value, mapped to one value. Then the attacker modifies and makes it point to some other value, which is in the malicious shellcode. A payload with the create shellcode makes it point to that address of the shellcode. By this, the program, instead of going to the actual code, it jumps to the malicious shellcode that attacker replaced it with, and yeah. And the regular box here explains that any malicious code, even which you're inputting in the present stack, will not get executed because it's a non-executable stack. Most of the times it's effective and makes it difficult for the attackers to exploit. Hence, the written libc attackers, most of the attackers, the written libc attracts the most of the attackers to exploit the buffer or with overflowing it. From here, my friend Malati will continue, and thank you every day and have a good day.
Now let's deep dive into the countermeasures. So we first talk about the address space randomization. Basically, address space randomization is a security technique to make guessing of the addresses in the memory difficult. Now let's consider a simple program. It just prints out the address of an environment variable. So I'm setting the environment variable my shell to a string called bin.sh. It can be any random string. And I've written a small utility that just prints out the environment variable. I set the address randomization turned on for for both heap and stack. Now if I try to print out the environment variable, it gives me an address, but the thing is, every time I execute this program, I get a new address. The reason is we've turned on the address randomization feature of the memory protection scheme. Now, fortunately, we overcome this by turning it off, as guessing the addresses is one of the most crucial, critical steps of any buffer overflow attacks. So, where the randomized space is set to 2, we just set it to 0. So it turns off the randomization for both heap and stack. Now the key to making the return to libc exploit successful depends upon three major things. Number one, switch off the appropriate countermeasures. If it's not a setuid program, map to the Z shell and give the appropriate privileges. And finally, the most important, find the exact addresses of system, exit, and the shell string bin/sh. Now let's see how we find the address of bin/sh. To make things simple, we store the string as an environment variable in the memory. To view the address of this variable on the stack, we write a small utility that prints the address out. Now, if you execute this program, you get the address. Now, our job is to place this address in the appropriate location on the stack. Now, we know the address of the shell string bin/sh. We now have to find the exact addresses of system and exit. For this, we use the installed utility gdb to find the addresses of system and exit. Here the vulnerable program is retlib.c, whose entry point is main. So we put a breakpoint in it. We run it, and then we find the addresses of system and exit using these commands. We copy the address of system and place it in the appropriate location. Similarly, we copy the address of exit and place it in the appropriate location. So we are ready with our addresses. Now let's talk about the return to libc attack intellection. Revisiting our objective. We want to exploit the vulnerable buffer and override the return address of the stack. We want to get to the root shell without having to place our code on it. Now, if we can override the stack, we can control the EIP, the return address of the stack. We know that it's a non-executable stack, so it's not possible to explicitly write our shell code, which is ultimately going to fail. So why not point to a function that can take us to the root shell? System is one such function in the C library. This can get us a root shell. So now we override the stack using a vulnerable buffer, point the return address to the system call within the libc package in the memory. Now the system function by default carries an argument in its signature. So we make use of this. Settlement argument to the system function, which is bin/sh, which is nothing but our shell. Now we point to exit so that we exit the program gracefully. Now the program entry point is main, which carries two arguments. Once the main function returns, it's going to pop the first pointer from the stack to EIP, which means EIP is going to point to the system function inside libc. Now the stack inside the system function is under consideration. When the system function returns, which is exit, the library within C, libc. Now within the system function itself, as we discussed, the second thing expected is the argument, which is /bin/sh. So this ideally is what the system command expects as an argument. Now all we need to do is position these three addresses in the stack. The address of system, the address of exit, and the address of bin/sh. So we house these elements, we execute the exploit, we execute the vulnerable program and get the root shell.
Thank you, Madhati. Hi everyone, this is Niroj Kumar. Real challenge here, how we are going to pass the /bin/string to the system function. So here we have two stack frames. One is a vulnerable function BOF and another is a libc function system, which is already present in the memory. Assuming that the distance between the EBP value in the BOF function, which is 32, which means the buffer size is 32, assume that value. We know that the EBP plus 4 will be the return address, and so here we are going to put the system function address, and that will be 32 plus 4, which is equal to 36 offset. So we are going to put the return address. When it returns to the system function. When we come out of the stack frame, which means that ESP, which means current stack pointer, will be holding the value of EBB plus 4. This value it will be held inside the ESB pointer when we come out of the BOF stack frame. So when we control jumps to the system function, so at that time the ESB value will be moved from ESB to EBB. So now the initial value of the EBB is equal to EBB plus 4. That is a current value which is pointed in the base pointer of the stack of the system function. So here we know that this EBP value is going to actually increase by 4. So now we know the EBP plus 4 and plus 8, which is actually EBP plus 12, that will be argument. This is where we are going to place the /bin/sh address. So here we are going to put the address of the string. So and again, when you come to the return address of this system function frame, so here EBP value plus 4, and that is a return address of the system function. So when the system function returns, it also needs to return to somewhere, right? So if we do not put anything here, this will be just a random number and the system function will likely crash when it returns. We want this function to return nicely, so we just put the address of the exit, which is another function. When the system returns, it's actually returned to the exit function without crashing the process. So these are the three elements that we are going to fill in the stack frame. So if we can fill in these three elements, when the vulnerable function BOF returns, it's actually going to return the system function, and the system function it's going to get the arguments from this EBB plus 8 point position, and it's going to get the address of this string. So after executing this shell program through the system function and the system returns, it's going to take the address from the EBB plus 4 from the return address field. So that's where the exit function address is presented. So now the system quite the process without causing any crash to the process. So that's how we construct the bat file, right? So here we have final output of how the libc stack frame would look like. So you can see from the index 36, and we are going to put the system address, and from 40 we are going to put the exit address, and from 44 I'm going to put this string, the shell string address, right? So once we construct this, we get a bad file. So we run the vulnerable program, we should be able to get the root shell with the help of this bad file, which is a payload for the buffer overflow attack. So let's do the demo. Let's see how exactly that works. So let's come to the demonstration part of the return to libc attack. The first step, let's turn off the randomization to avoid the address space dynamic change in the memory. And then we need to make sure that the shell, the symbolic link, points to the Z cell, because there is another countermeasure. So we are going to turn that off. Now we are going to compile the vulnerable program. So in this case we turn off the stack guard, but we do enable the non-executable stack. So you cannot put code on the stack anymore. And last one, we are going to actually turn this into the root owned setuid program. Yeah, see, we got a vulnerable program. So as part of the second part, now we are going to actually get some of the parameter first. So these are listed parameter, I already took it for the reference. So we have to get the parameter parallelly and check with whether these values are matching or not. So we just create an empty bad file and find the first parameter called the cell string address. The first one we need to get is the cell string address. We have already have these programs on hand. Okay, so just run the program. Yeah, we got a binary file. So we create the cell string and push that into the memory of the child process. And so when we run the binary file of this program, so we are going to get this address. See, so we got this address from the child process, and yeah, so okay, so we are going to remember this address for the future use. And the second parameter is a system address, and third one is a exit address. So we all need to actually find out the address of the system function and all the address of the exit function. Let's do the GDB, which is a debugger, where we can get the debugger terminal and make use of that terminal. We're going to find out this address of these both functions. So we'll set breakpoint at the vulnerable function DOF, and now if we run, and once the program starts, so we're going to get the address of the system and exit by executing p system. We got the address and p exit. So let's verify it with values which I already taken in the text file. So these values are correct one. Okay, I got just verified, cross-checked all the values. So now we are ready to go. So now I'm ready to do the attack. So before that, just check in the exploit Python. So where all these addresses are mentioned properly with the proper offset value. This is where our actual payload, which will be goes inside the stack when the buffer get overflowed. Yeah. So address of the string and the exit address and the system address, and the offset will be 36, 40, 44. It seems right. Let's save it and exit. And now I just need to run this and create the bat file. So bat file is, I'm going to create the bat file using this python3 exploit.py command. So now I got the bat file. So if I do the stack now, I got a pound sign. See, if you try ID, and you can see, yeah, I got a root. So this is a success of the attack. So from the demo, we can see that we have successfully obtained the root shell through the return to libc attack.